Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, today I thought I would give you guys a little channel update. We're getting close to 2023. Just kind of go over just a little bit of information and what you should expect to see coming up on the channel in the coming weeks moving into 2023. Because as you guys know, if you live in North America, we had a really extreme Arctic outbreak. And that made it very difficult to do things outside because it was life-threateningly cold there for a little while. And of course it's rapidly warmed up now, but what happens when it gets warm here? We end up with really strong winds. And it makes it very difficult to get outside and do anything, whether it's fly a drone or just to try to avoid the wind noise in your mic can be overpowering at times. So just want to give you guys a little update of what I'm going to get to here very, very soon. First off, I want to show you guys a few stickers I got in the mail. My buddy Robby over at Bang for Your Buck RC sent me these decals. These are really cool. I need to get myself some channel decals. I don't have any. Something I always meant to do. I had some merch and then I changed my name from Drone Reviews to RC Reviews. So that stuff's obsolete. I don't have anything that's really accurate on my channel right now, which is why I'm wearing my friend Marcus at Idaho Quadcopter's cap. But yeah, these are really cool stickers. So if you're not familiar with Robby's channel, please do check it out. I'll make sure I put a link to his channel down in the video description. Really honest reviewer. He reviews a lot of RC cars, a little bit of drones, boats, stuff like that. Very honest. He's going to let you know if something's good or not. He's not going to sugarcoat it. That's for sure. All right, guys. So as I mentioned, really windy outside, and it's going to make it difficult for me to get around to showcasing on the channel what I'm about to show you now. And that is this. The DJI Mini 2. Finally got my hands on one of these. I've been wanting to pick one of these up for a while. I just could not pass up the price. No, this is not new. The Mini 3 is out now, the Mini 3 Pro. So this is not a new drone, but some of you guys may have never seen this. I had never seen one up close, but I had the original DJI Mavic Mini, which is essentially the same drone in many respects, but not nearly as good as this one. Because if you subscribe to my channel, you may have heard me mention in the past that my Alto Evo quit working, my Fimi X8 Mini up here, if you can see it, I can't get it to connect anything. And the DJI Mavic Mini was fine, but it's really laggy. You fly it out of ways, you end up with a bunch of Wi-Fi lag, and that makes it very difficult to frame up shots and film whenever you're always a bit behind in your video feed. So I wanted something that had really good range and a really good camera, but ideally stay under that 250 gram limit. So that way I don't have to worry about remote ID and stuff like that. And this one's just a no-brainer. This is a Costco special. So in the review I'll cover it a lot more in depth, but this is 379 bucks for the drone, an extra battery, this really awesome carrying case, and a 32 gig SanDisk Extreme micro SD card. Absolutely unbeatable deal. This is the best drone, air photography drone you can get for under $400 if you're lucky like me and can get it and got it on one of those similar deals. I think Sam's has a similar deal going on right now. So I basically had this, or I had my Fimi X8 SE 2020 up here, which is fine. Camera's not great, the gimbal's not great, it does have good range, but it's also over 250 grams, so that's something to keep in mind. So with 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts today, I can't get this outside and fly, despite the fact that it's in the low 50s. It's very warm for late December now, which is pretty common after a big Arctic outbreak that we warm up a whole bunch. But like I said, I can't get this outside and fly it. Could have handled 30, probably so in sport mode, but my goodness, why risk losing a drone or end up with just a mishap because of the wind? So it's supposed to stay warm here the next week or two before it probably get cold again. I'm sure I can find a day in there that I can get this drone up in the air when it's not insanely windy. At least I hope so. So that's the first thing I want to feature on this channel. I got some content filmed indoors here, just going over it, but I don't have any flight footage. It's not going to be a super in-depth review in terms of, I'm not going to show all the features off because there's a plethora of videos on YouTube like that. Since this isn't new, I just want to include some flight footage and give you my thoughts on how the drone flies and how the gimbal works. And of course that 10-kilometer range with OcuSync. I mean, that's just that's for 6 miles. That's insane. And I don't have anything besides the Evo that could have done close to that. And like I said, it doesn't work anymore. The next thing I got here. Actually, before I show this, I want to mention something else before I show you the next thing. That is, I picked up yesterday a Tamiya Acro-Shot. Make sure I'm going to say that right. I had not seen this truck before, and one of the channels that I follow is Addam over Addam's Playground. Many of you guys probably heard of him, but if you're more into the drones, maybe you haven't. Make sure you do check his channel. I'll link it down below as well. He's got a really great, more ground-based channel in terms of RC cars, mostly the Tamiya and maybe some Kyosho and some of the classics. He's more into the classic stuff I grew up with, so I totally get it. And he mentioned he got one of those for Christmas. I hadn't heard of this truck. So he had a link to Hub Hobby up in Minnesota, and I checked it out, and I was like, man, I can't pass this up. It just has a really cool stadium truck look, and it appears I bought the last one, around 150 bucks. I mean, it wasn't bad. Does need ball bearings, which I picked up a pack of Fast Eddies for it. Really excited to get this one on the channel. I got the right Tamiya paint, so I'm going to try to do it probably just like the box. So I'll put a picture of the Acro-Shot up here, probably already did, and let you guys see what that looks like if you're not familiar with it. Because in the late 90s, around 97 or so, I had a Dyna Blaster, which was sort of like the Stadium Blitzer, really higher end at the time, a stadium truck. And I missed that one. I let it sit in storage for years when I got married and we moved, and it sort of, the plastics dry rotted and it fell apart, and I was dumb and just threw it away. I wasn't into RC very much at the time, and I wish I kept it because I'm sure I could get some spare parts, and a lot of that stuff's come back around where you can find stuff to fix it up. So I mean, it was a bummer that I got rid of that truck. So I really wanted to jump in this because it sort of reminded me of the Dyna Blaster. I still got a baby food jar in the drawer over there with a bunch of little parts, extra new parts and extra pieces that came with that original kit back in, it was around 1997, I think, whenever I picked that up from Tower Hobbies. So, and I also, some of the stuff I picked up for it, I was debating whether I wanted to go brushless or not. And it's so cheap if you just want a basher and you're not being competitive. I decided to go brushless. It does come with a 60 amp, I believe it's a Hobby Wing, brushed ESC, a sport tuned motor, so that's going to be fine. Don't get me wrong. And then I just thought I'd go with a cheap ESC receiver. Receiver. I was so used to these receiver combos. A cheap ESC motor combo off eBay. And if it works fine, then obviously I'll stick with it. If I have issues, cogging and weird stuff like that, then I'll just go back to the brush system, which again is totally fine. And the Acro-Shot does have oil-filled shocks. Addam filled me on that because the instruction manual, if you download it from Tamiya, it says that it is a friction shocks, and I don't want to have to replace those. I'm not a big fan of friction shocks, so I was glad to see it comes with all that. You basically just, you really want to put ball bearings in it because those plastic bushings, they just wear out, and your car will run longer, and you'll get a faster top speed if you put ball bearings in. A ball bearing kit is under 20 bucks. It's a no-brainer. So I'll probably put a screenshot on my cart. I picked up that 3650. I think that's the size of the motor. If I click in here in the actual listing, if it loads, I want to think, it'll take too much time to dig through, but I think it was around 3600 kV, which is fine. I'm only going to stick to 2S on it. I'm not going to go 3S because the Tamiya kits, you have to be careful when you start to go above 2S, and no matter what the kV is, they weren't really designed for brushless systems. So you want to go with one that's a little similar to a higher end brushed kit in terms of speed, and you'll be fine. I also picked up a 35 kilogram high torque servo. This one looked pretty nice. I've seen these around. It looks better than some of the cheapest. I didn't want to go with the cheapest servos, but I thought I would go with something decent. This is about 24 bucks. You can get some other ones that look pretty nice in the $15 range. I thought, you know what, I'm going to really kind of go out on this one and And I know I bought a cheap brushless motor and ESC, so I didn't really go all out. But I wanted to go a little bit better and go with the good servo. Even though on this one, you know, these are not monster truck wheels, so high torque's not as important as if you were, you know, had something like a Clodbuster or something. And then of course I picked up the AcroShot, you know, it's a DT03 chassis, a sealed bearing kit from Fast Eddie Bearings for 17 bucks. So that's what I got for the AcroShot. All right, the next thing I want to show you guys is I got this in, and I'll show you guys the box here too. Let me lift it up. This is from Bezgar. They reached out to me before Christmas and wanted to know if I would review this truck. And yeah, this truck looks pretty similar. Let me move it back some so it shows up in the camera. But as you guys can see here, and I'll try to get this box out of the way so we're not taking up too much room. But this is one of those MJX Hypergo rebrands. You know, a lot of metal parts, brushless motor. They do have a brush version. I reviewed that, and then I reviewed another version of the of that with a brushless motor that was from Hossam, and this is from Bezgar. But it looks a little different than the Hossam version. But the main reason I took this is they include a 3S like modular style battery with this. So the 3S battery, we can really see, you know, how does this thing move on 3S. I'll probably take it to the skate park. With all these metal parts, I don't think it's as likely to break it. It has a oil-filled shocks. The rep told me they really worked with MJX to see what things they can do to the Hypergo to sort of upgrade it and work with them to make sure that it'll work. And again, the Hossam version came with a 2S. My original brush one came with 2S, of course, and I was excited to try it. I want to try this out on 3S. I'll have to look and see. The box shows a wheelie bar. We'll have to see. It may be in there to attach that. Typically on these kind of cars, you put a wheelie bar on and you don't need it. But on 3S, I'm thinking we may need it. So if there's one in there, I'm certainly going to attach it to this car. And we'll take it out and see how this guy does. This is not the GPS version, so it does not, you know, it doesn't give us the ability to read the GPS speeds. So if I decide to do a top speed test, I'll attach my little digital GPS reader onto this car and get a top speed. But we'll definitely take it out and see how it does on 3S. And then we'll move back to a few more drones. I've had this one laying around for a long time from Banggood. This is a 4DRC. It says smartly, not smart fly. Had this a long time. I tell you, the 4DRC drones are pretty decent and they get a lot of views. I mean, my 4DRC Richie, I think had like over 1,000 views in a few days around Christmas, and the video is from like back in the spring, so it wasn't a brand new video. So I should have gotten this one up in the air, but this is from Banggood. It's actually the 4D V22, and you know, Banggood's really struggling right now as many of the Chinese vendors, and there's rumors of them going bankrupt, and I don't get anything from them anymore. Nobody that I know does. I haven't received anything since probably October, and I don't know if I will again. They just can't afford to give out samples outside of the really massive channels. The few channels with 100,000 plus subs, they'll take a shot on them because they get enough traffic that they can justify sending it out. But you know, I mean, the channel's doing well overall. I didn't really mention on this, you know, but I mean, it's a struggle. There's so much competition in RC right now. The channel's growing at a steady but very slow rate compared to what it did 3-4 years ago. And as you guys probably noticed, they don't get the videos don't get a lot of views depending on what it is, which is why I've tried to move away from more of the really toy grade stuff when I can, because it just doesn't get views. So that's something to keep in mind on this. It's a struggle. It's always a struggle to get comments and likes on my channel. It's always been a problem. I don't know why. Just what it is. But it's just stuff like this from Banggood probably won't be something I may not have anymore. I'm probably maybe relying mostly on Amazon sellers like Bezgar. As you guys know, Holy Stone, I get a lot of stuff from ATOP, DRC, which is a parent company of Holy Stone. And some other random ones, and Patinzik was a big one too, which I'll show you. I do have one from them. So I'll just briefly open this up if it's unsealed, and it is. It comes in a case. Here, I'm not going to mess with open it all the way up, but you can see it's one of these little foldable drones here. So I'll try to get around to this at some point. It looks to me like there's just a spare battery laying inside the box. So it must have been, I must have opened it up at some point and didn't put the battery back in there or something. I don't know what's up with that, but yeah. Because I've had this drone for, my goodness. I mean, I'm thinking I've had this drone for probably at least 8 months and just never got around to reviewing it. And then I got one more here, and I mentioned from Patinzik. This is a bigger one from Patinzik. I was able to make contact with them again. I hadn't heard from them about a year. I did a lot of stuff. I had the Dreamer 4K, the Dreamer Pro, and decent drones. And they make some, you know, unique ones. Like they have that Addam that they just came out with, which Marcus, which I mentioned here, he did recently did some videos on it. Seems like that drone works pretty good as long as you've got an Android phone. But I would like to get that if they, once they feel that it's up to snuff, like they get some firmwares and app fixes, maybe I'll get that on the channel. But they are releasing a 3-axis, I believe it's a 3-axis. I know it's a gimbal version of that. And if it performs like it did on Android for Marcus, and you add a gimbal and you don't have an insanely high price, which is probably going to be the case, then that could be a pretty decent drone. But again, lots of times a drone like that ends up being similar price to this, and it's not going to be as good as this. I don't care how nice it is. It's not going to have 10-kilometer range with OcuSync. So anyway, this is the P5G. It says 4K. We'll have to see. That's probably going to be 4K photos. Sort of like in your Phantom style, or you know, it's going to be smaller probably, or maybe more like the old SEMA X5Cs. I don't know if it's got any tilt here. I'm just looking over the stuff here. It does have GPS, which I didn't even remember that it did. So we do have GPS. So that means you're gonna have return to land, home, and it's gonna have your smart features, follow me, possibly waypoints, circle mode. But it's brushed motor powered, and we'll have to see if that camera is motorized to tilt. I hope that it is. That makes it a little bit more desirable, but we have to see. I mean, I don't know what this thing costs. These need to be really inexpensive to justify not just saving up a little more money for this, or really the DJI, the mini SCs like can be had for maximum $299, sometimes $279. A refurb might be considerably less, and it just makes no sense to buy these unless this is like you know, $80 or something, which I suspect this is going to be like $150 or something, and it's going to be too much money probably to justify it, considering it's brushed motors that has no gimbal. It's going to make it a hard sell. Well, they usually still sell pretty good because people don't come to channels like mine and are not knowledgeable, and they don't realize that that is not a good price for what that drone does. They see GPS 4K and go, wow, and they don't realize it's got brushed motors, the camera isn't stabilized, and it's, you know, it doesn't have the feet, it doesn't fly like a DJI drone or even an Autel. All right, guys, I think that covers a little bit of stuff I have. I'm sure I'll get some more things. That's just going to kind of move us forward into the new year. So wish you guys happy holidays, and of course a happy new year. If you're a subscriber, which you probably are, thank you for subscribing. Please comment and like the videos. Interact the best you can. I have a decent amount of subscribers in the background who don't ever interact. I'm realizing everybody's comfortable with that. At least hit the thumbs up. Let me know that you're out there and you're interacting in the videos. If you stumble across this video and you're new, then thanks for stopping by. You know, please do subscribe. And when you do subscribe, click the bell. That way you know every time I upload a new video that you will get notified. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.
The power of the dark side.